Welcome back everyone to another ESO build video. Today's going to be the update to the Almost Immortal Warrior, one of the most popular builds on my channel, in fact the first ever build that I released. This has been going for 4 years and every single update has got stronger and stronger and stronger, and for the Flames of Ambition DLC it got stronger again. And this is designed to be as tough as possible. You can take stupidly strong hits, blocking or not blocking depending on the content, but above all, you are here to help your group as well. You keep the boss off of them. You keep the ads in the middle and pin them all up. You keep control of the fight, but you also put out really big damage shields to protect people. This is a protecting tank. And at the same time, based on your choices, because there are going to be options in the video, you can help heal your group with some really big heal over time, or you can help boost their damage. So we'll get into that in the gear later, but if you want to see more of this, the toughest tank in the Elder Scrolls Online, stay tuned, it is all coming up. So first of all, obviously we are going to go into the stats. So we'll put our resistance buff on and our heals, and we're done. So 13.8k max magicka, which we don't need a big pool, we just need a high recovery, which we do have. We've got 17.30, which will actually go higher. We've got some options for that later. We can go way over 2k. Stay with me, that's coming. 55.2k max health and 20.9k max stamina. Now resistance is 33k and 29, almost 30. No, we're not capped on the physical, we are capped on the spell. But if we have minor resolve in the group, we will actually cap out almost. So that's absolutely fine if you're in group content. 64 points into max health. This is a stage 1 or 3 vampire. You get 4 if you really want to, you don't really have to do that. Stage 1, if you want to take advantage of the sneak passives. Stage 3, if you want undeath. We're going to go over that later when we get to the passives and when we get to the gear, because there are swap outs in our gear that consider this choice. But I'd highly recommend stage 1 minimum, because we are using some of the skills. Now, food-wise, we are actually using flat health, max stamina, food. Now, this obviously gives you enough to block with, loads and loads of health. It's going to be really beneficial to us when we're actually going into our skills, because we're using some health-based skills. But if you're comfortable with your stamina resources, if you heavy attack a lot, and if you can just maintain that bar so you don't actually run out of juice and you can block all the time if you need to, you can swap to this and you can get more recovery out. So if you put this stuff on, it'll give you max health and mag recovery, no stam bonus. So once you pop your potion and your bonuses and all the rest of it and everything's running nice and smooth, you actually sit on 2,371 mag recovery, which is insane. You're on 16k stamina. You can, of course, if you really want to, drop some of your health and plug your stamina, whether it be glyphs or your attributes. So you can still balance that out if you really want to. But straight off the bat, we're actually using the flat stuff. It's entirely up to you. It depends on your experience, and it depends on how well you manage your magicka resources. Now, the reason we have low magicka rather than plugging that gap, rather than using tri-stat food and all the rest of it, is because we don't need a high magic pool. All of our magic abilities are utility. They do not scale off of our magicka amount. They scale off of our health. So the higher the health, the more effective it is. The higher the recovery, the more efficient its usage is. We do have high enough recovery to maintain everything that we're using alongside of our set and potions and all the rest of it. But if that is a problem, I'm going to show you a way later in the gear how to make sure you'll never ever run out again, and it's just a quick gear swap. Now, this build does have a very specific purpose and design, so the skills are chosen this way deliberately. I will explain how they work, I will explain the exact functionality of them, where to get them from, which morph and all the rest of it, and then I'll even show you how to apply it later. But pay very close attention, these do need to be understood, because there's lots of misinformation out there. Now, the first ability we're using is Igneous Shields. This is in the Earth and Heart skill line. It's the third ability you unlock. Starts off as Obsidian Shield, morph it to Igneous Shield, not the other one. This one does give you the same bonus as the other one with Major Mendon, but the other one has Major Mendon for longer. The longer duration is not necessary, because we're going to be able to spam this in some situations, so we're going to have the uptime anyway. Now, this skill scales off of your maximum health. So the higher your health, the bigger the damage shield. And it also gives a damage shield to your group. There are skills out there, yes, of course, balance, people use that to spam. They slot the skill, spam it to get recovery or resource return, and then they nuke their ability to heal and put out damage shields. We're not using that skill because we don't want to half our damage shield. We don't want to half the effectiveness of our heals while that is running off. We want to have passive recovery and save ourselves a slot. This is going to be able to be spammed. We'll have the Major Mending all the time, which increases our healing done, which is incredibly important for the build, and we have big shields. All you have to do is activate it, the group is protected. Nice and easy. Now, with it being Major Mending, make sure that you fire this first before you fire a heal, because then your heals are going to be stronger. Now, next up is Green Dragon Blood. This is in the Draconic Power skill line. Third ability to unlock starts off as Dragon Blood, morph to Green Dragon Blood. Very simply put, this is a buff that gives you minor vitality, increasing your healing received, and it will give you major endurance and fortitude, increasing your stam and health recovery. Now, depending on the stage of vampire you are, obviously health recovery is not that important, but the stam bonus is quite nice when your block is down, because block doesn't allow recovery, but when your block is down, it does. However, that bonus isn't on potions. Minor vitality isn't, so we do want to keep this up. The rest is, so that's hit and miss. But essentially, this is a heal. Leave it running as a buff, but if you need an emergency heal, take it. And it's 34% of your missing health. So the higher your health is, the larger chunk that percentage bonus is going to be. If you have very, very low health, 34% of that is not a lot. If you have very, very high health, 34% of it is still the same percentage, but it's a bigger chunk. Health efficiency actually helps with your magicka efficiency. What I mean by that is, the bigger your health pool, the less magic you have to waste. Shield first, heal second, use it when you're really, really low. Just note, by the way, this Major Mending, as I just said, heal. Shield first, heal second. It's bigger. Pierce Armor's next is in Sword and Board skill line. Very simply put, this is your taunt. If you don't know what taunt is, stab the target, it will only hit you. Now you know. Other games, of course, there are aggro counters. This one, no, you just stab it. But you must maintain it. Starts off as Puncture, morph it to Pierce Armor. Does physical damage, which is not that important, but it does last 15 seconds. Here is a very important point to make. Please understand it. If you are a new tank, or even if you're an experienced one, this is going to make or break you as a player. Do not let your taunt run out. You can overlap it. Do not let it run out. If you reapply it before it runs out, you will maintain aggro. If you let it run out, and then try to reapply it after it's gone, that boss has already run across the room and slapped everyone to pieces. Do not have gaps in your taunts if you can help it. If you want to look for that in your buff timers, you're looking for a black background with a broken shield in it. If the target has that on them, you currently have the aggro with a taunt. If it doesn't, you're screwed, get it back quickly. Now, this does apply Minor Breach and Major Breach. Now, these were changed. It used to give a much lesser buff, or debuff if you like. It actually reduces the physical and spell resistance by, it used to be around 5k, 5.2 in fact, but now it's 5948. And the Minor, which never used to be on the skill until a patch ago, actually used to be 1320 and wasn't even on this skill, but now is, and is 2974. So you've got almost a 9k physical and spell resist stripper in one skill. Massive debuff. Make sure this is applied all the time to multiple targets if you can. If not, at least make sure you're controlling them while you still maintain the taunt on the main target. This is incredibly important. This is the most simple yet most important skill for any tank. Whatever taunt you have, the taunt is your key focus. Do not let it run out. That was probably over-explained, but teaching this for a living, trust me, I see this fail all the time. You want to be a good tank, maintain that one ability overall. The rest of it will come in time. Next up is a swap out slot. This is Mistform. This is in the Vampire skill line. This is why we're a vampire. Stage 1 or 3, it's entirely up to you. We'll get to passives later. This starts off as Mistform, morph it to Elusive Mist. This will make you take 75% less damage from anything you're being hit by, and it'll make you run faster while it's happening. Now, just bear in mind, this does drain magicka over time, and all of your recovery will be stopped. But you're also immune to disabling and immobilization effects. So, if it's not a boss, like a major boss, because those ones don't count for Mistform. If it's not a major boss, maybe it's a mini boss or an ad or whatever, any of those smaller targets, even some of the bigger ones, will not be able to knock you over. You can break out of any situation, whether it be a root or a snare or something like that, by activating it. And they will basically hit nothing but air. They will hit you very, very lightly with this massive reduction to damage incoming. Just bear in mind you can't be healed during this. Now, some situations where this will help is when you're trying to get from one position to another nice and quick, or in situations where you're low on resources. So if you are in Arthurian Archive, for example, I've used this example many, many times in the past, and you have, say, 4 or 5 axes, and they're all about to heavy attack you, but your stamina has gone. For some stupid reason, your stamina has gone. Maybe you've got an ultimate ready so you can get your resources back in about 4 or 5 seconds, but you've got nothing to block with, and you can't heavy attack because they're now going to heavy attack you. Pop Mistform. None of them will stun you. None of them will damage you even close to enough, and you can come out of Mistform after that situation is finished and heavy attack them back in the face or drop an ultimate or whatever. This will allow you that room for error in some situations, and in other situations it will actually help you survive full out as a mechanic. In VAS, for example, Vet Asylum Sanctorium, or even on normal, if you're getting hit by the big flame circle that lands in 3 different places at 25% health and under, you pop Mistform, it's not going to hurt. Yeah, sure, you'll still have the small debuff on you, but it's not going to hurt. Fire doesn't have to kill you. Some mechanics, you can use this and alleviate the situation completely. It's a very strategy-based skill, but it's very helpful, and you will see me use this on the live streams quite a lot. However, you can swap this out for an area effect stun instead if you want, which is also quite nice. You can pull stuff in, you can make stuff immobilize, and when the cooldown is all run off, you can stun them. Not used in every situation, but quite nice. Starts off as Mesmerize, morph it to Hypnosis. This will actually stun enemies around you as long as they're facing you. The initial morph of it only if they're in front of you facing you. This is around you. So this is really, really helpful in some oh shit situations. Just a small point for this, by the way, if you are a stage 4 vampire and the NPCs in the world won't talk to you, cast this at them, and while it's active for a few seconds, you can actually speak to them. Now, the other swap out for this is in the Sword and Board skill line, especially if you don't want to be a vampire, because you don't have to be, but I would highly recommend it for those abilities, is in the Sword and Board skill. If I can find it, where's it gone? There we go. Sword and Board skill line, third ability to unlock starts off as defensive posture, morph it to absorb missile. Some fights you will get hit by a lot of projectiles. If you activate this, it will absorb 1 projectile up to 17k damage. Yes, this is scaled off of your maximum health, so the higher the health, the stronger it is. And if this gets absorbed, so you get hit by a projectile, maybe Ruckat is firing his machine gun at you, whatever, then you will heal. It's 1 shot though. You activate it, 1 shot, heal. Activate it, 1 shot, heal. You can actually stay alive for a very, very long time for this. It's really, really handy. Again, scales off of your max health. This I put here for most situations, but I do tend to use Mistform a hell of a lot. Again, you'll see that on the live streams. The choice is yours. You don't have to slot either of them if you don't want to. There's lots of other choices in the game. Maybe even a range taunt on the front so you don't have to keep swapping bars. Up to you, but those are the choices I would recommend. Next up is Bone Surge. Remember we have Ignis Shield, which is a massive damage shield. Well, in the Undaunted skill line, we've got another damage shield on the other side of the resource pool. So while our mag recovery is really, really good, as long as you can heavy attack occasionally, keep your stam up as well. Doing so will give you a 17.7 almost K damage shield for 6 seconds, which does stack with this. But if you take the Bone Surge morph of this particular Bone Shield, you will of course grant your allies a synergy effect, which they can take, and if they do, 5 other allies will also have a damage shield equivalent to 30% of their max health. Max health is so high now across the board for players, regardless of their level. This is a very strong shield for them, and they'll get Major Vitality for the privilege as well, increasing their healing received. If you've got one of the healing setups that we have in the gear, I'll get to that later, this will actually help, and if not, if you do have a healer in your group, of course this is going to benefit them, or for their own heals. Either way, this is for you and your group. You are a protector. This tank protects people. That's the point. Now, the main ultimate on the front bar is your oh shit button. This is the block ultimate in the Sword and Board skill line. This is stupidly overpowered, and I'm never leaving home without it, because you would not believe how many times I've had to use this so I can't get stunned, so I can block all the time while taking damage in the back of the face while rezzing the group. Yes, you are built to protect your group, but there are some people that run around in circles, and there are some situations that just cannot be helped. And in those situations, if you're still standing, you can get people up. Or, if you run out of resources, you can pop this and you can still block for nothing. Now, starts off as Shield Wall, morph it to Shield Discipline. This will give you an 8-second auto block. It doesn't drop at all. But, during this block period, you can still recover your stamina with passive recovery. You can still heavy attack from underneath it, and all of your one-hand and shield abilities cost nothing. So if you are using Absorb Missile, you can spam it. If you're using Pierce Armor, you can taunt loads and loads of targets at once. You've got 8 seconds now of free costing sword and board skills. Really, really powerful. And again, in Arthurian Archive, if you're in trouble, for example, like I said, and you use a Mist Form, once you pop out of that, you can drop a block ulti, you're blocking for free, heavy attack all your resources back, you're back in business. Now, Sanguine Altar is in the Undaunted skill line. This is here for 2 reasons. 1, to help your group survive, and 2, to proc a particular set if you choose to use it, but we'll get to that in the gear. Now, all you have to do is let your group hit stuff. If you hit anything, every 1 second, you'll get 624 health back. If the group hits stuff, they get health back. Yes, it can crit too, so it's a really nice heal over time as long as they're consistently doing damage. But it also has a synergy effect with it as well. It is 40% of their maximum health, but healing received and healing done is also considered. So if they dip really, really low, pop the synergy, and they heal to almost full, depending on their crits and all that kind of stuff. You can't take your own synergy, no, but everyone else in the group can take this once every 20 seconds. It lasts a very long time, and it costs health. We have 55k health. We really don't care about losing 2k for 1 cast. It's not going to affect you. Next up is our main resistance buff. Yes, of course, you could use a Dragonknight ability, but it costs magicka, and that means that our magicka resource pool is going to suffer when we are trying to maintain it with our igneous shields. You don't want an extra skill pushing out extra negatives to your resource return. So we're using a stamina based one, but you will have to heavy attack occasionally to keep it up. It's in the heavy armor skill line. You do need 5 pieces of heavy armor to activate this or to have the skill applied. The rest of the passives, however, don't need that anymore. But again, we'll come to that in the passives. This will give you major resolve, increasing your physical and spell resistance by 5, 9, 4, 8 for 20 seconds. And it will make you slightly slower for 6 seconds, but it will make you immune to knockback and disabling effects. So you can't be knocked down. We're a brick wall anyway. Now we've got some steel posts holding our brick wall up, making us even more solid. Now, this had issues in the past where some abilities would still knock you over. All of that has now been fixed. So, just saying, by the way, if you put this on and then pop a block ulti, you are going nowhere. Very strong. But be careful when you activate it, because if you've got to get out of trouble quick in some situations, you don't want to be really, really slow when you've got to run fast. However, to fix that issue, dodge roll. You'll cover a wider gap, problem solved. This does get stronger based on each piece of armor worn, however. By that, your break free cost is reduced for each piece. Really handy skill. Don't leave home without it. Make sure, of course, it's unstoppable. Brute, not the other one. The one which is blue, that's the easiest way to notice the difference because the words get jumbled up in some people's ears. But the blue version of this will make you stand completely still. You cannot move. You don't want that one. You want this one. Don't spam it. Keep it up. Inner Rage is next. It's a range taunt in the Undaunted skill line. This is for when you want to range taunt stuff, basically. Inner Fire to start with, morph it to Inner Rage. Now, melee targets, if you range them, they'll come to you. Range targets, if you range them, they won't come to you. They'll just hit you. But if you get out of their range, they'll have to come forward until they can reach, and that's how you manipulate their distance. But, essentially, range taunt, get aggro from a distance, run in, or let them come to you, whatever. You've got lots of different situations that will warrant you using that, but the range taunt is for 28 meters. Pierce armor is for up close. Just bear in mind, if you do range taunt them first and they do eventually get to your feet, you will need to stab them with this because they don't have the debuff on them. Unrelenting Grip is your main bread and butter control ability, alongside one more, but this is your main one. Ardent Flame, 4th ability to unlock, starts off as Fiery Grip, morph it to Unrelenting Grip. It does flame damage initially, it does cost magicka, and it will give you a speed buff if you activate it. Spoiler, in some fights, use this on the boss. No, you can't pull the boss, but you can get a speed buff. If the target cannot be pulled, yes, bosses too, if they cannot be pulled, you will be refunded 100% of the magicka back. So if you misclick, if something's CC'd and you can't pull it, that ability is free. You have to have enough in your pool to use it, but you get it back. Essentially, at 22 meters or under, you can pull the enemy to your feet. Very simple. Don't leave home without it. This is how you pull stuff in. Then, the next one is Choking Talons. It's in a Draconic Power skill line. Second ability to unlock starts off as Dark Talons, morph it to Choking Talons. They did change this, so this does now do flame damage, which is quite handy, but the whole point of this is to pin targets to the ground. This is not a stun, this is a root. Now, this will actually pin targets around you, up to 6. And enemies are afflicted with minor maim, reducing the damage that they can do by 5% for 10 seconds. Now, while a boss cannot be rooted, they can still be affected with minor maim. So this can be used as an area of effect debuff even if you can't pin the targets. Allies nearby can take a synergy to do flame damage and area of effect. Very handy skill. Pull them in, root them up, stab them. Easy peasy. Next is our main ultimate. We are, of course, using Aggressive Warhorn from the Assault skill line. You are going to want this. Now, it starts off as Warhorn, morph it to Aggressive Warhorn. This will give everyone Major Force, increasing the critical damage they do by 20% for 10 seconds, and it will increase everyone's max resources, so their health, their Magicka and their stamina, not their health. Their Magicka and their stamina by 10% for 30 seconds. It used to do health a long time ago, now you have to get that buff from a Warden. Anyway, double resource boost and crit damage. Very helpful in Let's Burn It mechanics, or just in general if you want to keep stuff up. Now, if you don't want to use that, or if you don't have that yet, you can use something more protective for your group. You can give people Magma Shell. Now, this comes from the Earth and Heart skill line. This is obviously your main ultimate. You need level 12 for this, but this starts off as Magma Armor, morph it to Magma Shell. Now, lots of people like to use this over this. If you want to use this to take less damage from the big hits you're getting, that is fine, but you are still going to have to block. So while your passives will give you resources back, this one makes you block for free so you can heavy attack from underneath it. This one does not, so you will still have to maintain your resources. You don't have that freedom, but this does protect your group. So if you activate it, you will only take 3% of your max health per hit. So if it's not a designed one-shot, doesn't matter if it's a 50k or 100k, you won't die. But you will give your group a damage shield equivalent to 100% of their max health for 10 seconds. Health is huge now. Even the Easy Sork, fully buffed in Trials, is sitting on 31, almost 32k health. That's a 32k damage shield right there. That's barrier. It's insane. But that's situational. If you want to protect your group, get close and pop this. If it's for you and for your resources and your survivability, use your block ulti, because you can heavy attack from underneath it and still maintain your skills and stuff. Very, very helpful. But the choice is absolutely up to you. So you've got Warhorn or Magma Shell. Protection or damage buff. Front bar, always sword and board ulti. It's disgusting. Now, passives. This increases your damage with poison and burn and status effect. We do have fire here. We do have fire here as well. So we are going to do burn and status effects occasionally. We are doing poison damage. We'll get to that when we get to the gear. That can also apply poison status effects as well. The damage output for that is not that important for us. But what is important is if we do apply a burning or poison status effect, we will get resources back. So burning will give us magic back, which occasionally happens. And poison, which will happen a lot, will constantly give us stamina back, which helps us while we're blocking. Yes, that does come back to us while we're holding block. When you deal direct damage with Ardent Flame ability, you reduce the enemy's movement speed. If you chain them, that's fire. They're already come in anyway. You've already got control of them. You've probably rooted them. So the snare's not that essential. But just in case they start to run wild, they are a bit slower. So that's helpful. Increase damage over time with Fire Breath, Searing Strike, and Dragonknight standard abilities. You don't need this passive. We don't use it. Now, this increases your damage of area of effect flame abilities. We're not really using any, and we're not using any poison abilities per se. We're not casting any poison abilities. So this passive here is pretty much useless for us. You don't need it. Draconic Power is very important. This will increase the amount of damage you can block. This will give you heal and receive bonus if you activate or while a Draconic Power ability is active. So we are going to be using Green Dragon Blood as a buff for minor vitality. At the same time, we do also get this healing bonus as well. So we've got healing receive bonuses twice that do stack. Very handy indeed. Don't let your ability run out if you can help it. This increases your health recovery per ability of this type on your bar. So we have one on each bar actually. So it's 5% across the board, which is not that essential. But what is essential is that we have increased melee range. We have 2 meters on all of our melee skills, which includes your light and heavy attacks, by the way. And you get increased spell resistance. But now we have more because we're a Dragonknight. We actually capped out very, very easily with Magicka resistance. Earth and Heart is essential for this build. Do not leave home without these passives. This will increase the duration of time the abilities last for this skill line. Ignis Shields, 8 seconds, great, instead of 6. This, 12 seconds, fantastic. Do not miss this passive. When you cast an ultimate, you will get 47 health, 46 magicka, and 46 stamina back per ultimate cost. This here is cheap, but it will give us resources back, enough to keep us alive. We heavy attack from underneath it if we need to. This, however, on the back bar, massive cost, massive return. Your ultimates give you resources back as an oh shit button or as a maintaining resource button. Entirely up to you. Do not miss this passive. When you cast an Earth and Heart ability, you give your group Minor Brutality. The whole group. All 12 of you if you're in a trial. For 20 seconds, increasing all of their weapon damage by 10%. We are using Igneous Shields. Left, right, and center. This buff is never going to run out. And if we use it once every 6 seconds minimum, we can get 3 ultimate back each time for the privilege. That is actually going to happen all the time as long as you get fairly attuned to the build. When you cast a non-stamina Earth and Heart ability, you get 990 stamina back. Spam this with your high magical recovery and get this back repeatedly. Very simple. This passive skill line is your most important in this build apart from your sword and board. Maybe heavy armor too. Speaking of sword and board, get every single one of these. All of them. You have to be holding a sword and board to benefit from this. No, we're not using a lightning staff because that's stupid. No, we're not using an ice staff because I've got other builds for that. Check out Nature's Bounty if you want an ice staff build. Very, very strong. Anyway, moving on. This reduces the cost of the abilities and reduces the cost of blocking. This increases your weapon damage for sword and boards. Not that important, but does reduce the amount of damage you can block, which is really handy. Block passives are key. Otherwise, some heavy attacks in the game are designed to go through this shit if you don't have it. If you're DPS with loads of health and you try and block something with no block passives, you're likely to take a one-shot. This is essential. This improves your standard bash attacks, but also makes them cost less stamina. This increases the damage you can block from projectiles, and this increases your movement speed while blocking because you are quite slow. Get all of those. We're not using any other weapon abilities. Nice and easy. Just one skill line to level up. Great. Light armor. We are only using one piece of light armor if we make a certain choice. So this is not essential overall because it depends on which version of the build you use. So we'll go over the heavy first and then I'll explain the light option. So we do have heavy penalties and heavy bonuses, so you do need to be aware of these, but per piece you will take more damage from magical attacks, you will reduce the cost of sprinting, reduce your movement speed, while sprinting, increase your cost of dodge roll, and increases the size detection radius. We don't care about sneak and all the rest of it that much. Dodge roll is fine because we can heavy attack, dodge roll, not a problem. Just be aware of these. And for each piece worn, we reduce the amount of physical damage that we take from martial attacks, we increase the amount of block damage that we can actually benefit from, and we increase the damage with bash. Also reduces your damage taken while immune to crowd control effects, which, by the way, during mist form and during our immovable, actually benefits us quite a lot. So bear that in mind as well. These are new, but they are very important. We are using 7 heavy on purpose for multiple different setups of this build, but there is one that does have 1 light on purpose. We're going to explain that in a moment. This increases all your physical and spell resistance. This increases your health recovery and return when you take damage once every 4 seconds. This will increase your max health. This increases the amount of stamina or magically returned from your heavy attacks, depending on your weapon type per piece worn. 28% bonus there. That used to be 25. But since we don't have to have 5 pieces to get this bonus now, it's each piece worn, which is actually a buff. This increases your healing received per piece as well. Healing received is massive, alongside minor vitality, alongside the 12% from draconic power. We take big, big heals, and we heal ourselves. Light. If you take a certain setup, the healing for your group setup version, you can, of course, take advantage of 1 piece of light. Light was changed, so you take more from martial damage. So the protection bonus that we gain, we lose 1% of it. Increases the cost of block, which is a negative. We don't really want that, but we're going to have it from 1 piece anyway if you choose. And decreases the damage of bash. Damage of bash is not important. We just want to make sure the functionality works. Reduces the amount of magical damage you take. So that's a buff. Reduces the cost of dodge roll. That's a buff as well. Reduces the movement speed penalty while in sneak, and reduces the cost of break free. And reduce the cost of bash. This is quite helpful. So the light armor bonuses do actually help us with our resources while dodging and breaking free. The heavy ones have negatives, but we take less damage from martial and all that good stuff. There's lots of different consolidating or balancing ways to fix up your build now when you don't need 5 pieces to get this stuff. Again, very importantly, we are using 1 piece of light in one of the options. This will reduce the effectiveness of snares on you, which is nice, and reduce the cost of sprint. This will increase your mag recovery, which is why we want the light armor piece, and of course it will fit for us in the setup anyway. And this will increase your spell resistance. That's not that important. This will increase your spell crit. That's not that important. This will increase your spell pen. That's not that important. The penetration stuff you don't need. This you don't need. This you don't need. This you do. This is what we really want. So you can take the Grace one, you can take Evocation one, but don't take the rest. Again, if you're using 7 heavy, don't need any of them. We are a vampire. Now, very carefully, listen to these. This increases your movement while sneaking. Obviously, there's one fight in the game that does benefit from that, so that's quite helpful. But this will increase your spell damage and weapon damage after you remove yourself from Mistform or Invisibility or Sneak. Not massively important, but you can have the passive if you want. This is important. If you choose to be a stage 3 vampire, which you can, during the fight, the more damage you take, the lower your health will go, the less damage you will take per hit. You will actually get tankier at lower health. And remember, because of this ability doesn't need to be spammed, it's based off missing health. Very low health is safe. Very low health is a bigger heal. Shield first, heal second. So this Undeath passive is actually very, very strong. Even on the live stream, I've sat there in fire, absolutely fine. You will take more damage as a vampire from fire. You will reduce your health recovery per stage. You will increase the ability cost at base as well. So bear in mind, if you are higher stages of vampire, your abilities will cost more. That's why it's helpful with one of the setups that we actually have a particular gear piece to benefit from that, to give us more recovery, being the light piece with a light passive, and also another piece of gear that does actually give us magicka back for being hit. So if you want to go stage 3, there is an option for that in the gear. If you don't want to go stage 3, you are going to miss out on the Undeath passive. You are going to be a little bit squishier. It's about resource maintaining. If you can maintain it, you'll be fine. Undaunted is incredibly important. If you take synergy, you get resources back. Not just from a spear. From every single synergy in the game, there's a heal and resources. Take them all. This will increase your max health, max stamina, and max magicka by 2% per different armor type worn. We're wearing one type of armor, we get the heavy bonuses, and we get the 2% here for just one type. If we use a light piece as well, which we do have on one of the setups, you will get 4% across the board instead. The choice is entirely up to you, but just bear in mind what passives you will gain or lose, and your resistances will be slightly different. We are, of course, still an Imperial. Yes, you can be any race you like. On my live server, I've actually got 2 of these on PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5, whichever way you want to look at it. Same server anyway. One of them's an Orc, one of them's an Imperial. Both of them equally perform, no problem whatsoever. But if you want to push those max stats and bonuses and reduction to cost, yes, reduction to cost, you want to be Imperial. This has a 2k max health bonus, biggest health bonus in the entire game. This is a 2k stam bonus, same applies, biggest stam bonus in the game. And reduces the cost of all of your abilities by 6%. Absolutely mental, very nice indeed. If you want to go with a Nord, you will have higher resistances. You can take off all the reinforced armor and replace it with sturdy and block for days. Your choice. You want to go Orc, lower health, roughly the same amount of stam, return in the form of a heal when you actually do weapon damage abilities, but at the same time you will also be very, very fast. So what you lose in one area, you gain another, so on and so forth. You can be any race you like in the entire game. None of them are a negative as such. It's just a case of which benefits do you take advantage of. Imperial, reduction to cost all day long, because we are a vampire, and we're going to put the cost up. So now we balance out. Medicinal use is the most important passive in the game, in my opinion. We are using tripods. You can use tripods on a tank as emergency pots if you like, but I like to use them all the time. The reason you use them all the time is because you have a magicka bonus, a stamina bonus, and a health bonus to recovery. If you maintain your potions uptime, you'll have that recovery all the time. Very helpful. Yes, health and stamina recovery is in this, but at the same time, popping the potion will give you all 3 resources back. So it makes sense to use the tripods. Whatever you use is up to you, but medicinal use will give you 47-second uptime instead of 37, making much more efficient use of your buffs. Yes, potions are consumable buffs. Now to the gear. There are options. This is deliberately designed, for those of you that find this confusing. No, it's not Ebon and Alkosh. That's already been done. Go watch that video. This is different. Don't go to the movies and watch Star Wars and complain that it's not the mask. They are different. This is different. If you want to help protect your group, there are options for that. If you want to help heal your group, there are options for that. If you want to boost the light and heavy attack damage of your entire team, yes, some builds are really going to benefit from that. There is an option for that. And if you want to boost everyone's flat weapon and spell damage, there's an option for that as well. We're going to go over it all, But essentially, this will perform for you the same in all content. It just depends on how it will affect your group. Now, we are using Leeching, no surprise, on the front bar. This shield can be acquired by Imperial City Prison Quest. It's a special shield. It's the only shield in the game. It's got health recovery on it, actually, but you want to change the glyph. And it talks to you, too. Very nice Easter egg there for you. Lord Warden's voice is trapped inside the friggin' shield. Get that. But anyway, reinforced there, defending here. You can put health on this if you want the higher max health, but if you're struggling with stam, you can just put stam on it. Your choice. Max health, healing received, and max health. When you take damage from any enemy, you put poison underneath their feet, which is an area of effect damage over time ability, and it will do poison damage to them. Every 1 second that you do damage, you will heal for the damage done. So the higher your pen bonuses, the higher your flat DPS bonuses, if you like, and your champion points, all that kind of stuff, the higher that stuff goes, the bigger the heal is. And the stronger your healing done bonuses versus the strength of your healing received bonuses on top of the flat damage that this can do, the better. The higher the damage, the bigger the hit, the incoming heal's getting bigger. The higher your healing done and healing received, the heal's going to get even higher. This gets ridiculous. This will keep you alive forever. The more enemies, the better as well, because this considers every single target different, and sometimes the real estate of the boss as well, so you can get some stupidly high heals. And yes, all you have to do is get hit. No percentage chance. Guaranteed proc. Double bar this, it's very hard for you to die. If, this is just a tip by the way, if you're in situations where sometimes you have to wipe, you will have to run away from the enemy, so they run out of the poison circle, so they stop healing you. If that's choosing to be too much of a problem, and you do find that you need to wipe consistently because your group wants to start again, just change one of these weapons so you don't have the bonus on the back bar, and then all you have to do is swap bars, stand still, and die. If you don't do that, you're going to be there forever. Now, we've got it on the body as well, or the jewelry. The choice is yours. You can go with jewelry, body pieces, sword and board, whatever. We are 7 heavy, so it really doesn't make any difference which order it's in, as long as you have both sets running. Stone Keepers is insane. Now, if you block an attack, you will get a charge. And up to 6 charges will count in a little box on your buff timers. And once you've got 6, they will pop. And you will actually get back 2480 stamina and magicka. And you will heal for 2579. Yes, it's a heal. Healing done and received does count. Then, after 14 seconds, you can do it again. Each block within 0.25 seconds of each other will count towards the charge stacks, by the way. So, this is a very, very strong resource return and really fast firing as well. This did get altered over time, but it's still incredibly powerful, especially alongside of your Constitution passives and alongside your tripods. Really handy. Don't leave home without it. But again, if you want to use some other choices, you can. Just gauge what you will lose because your resource return will be different. You'll have to heavy attack more often or just be more aware of what's going on. Helmet and shoulders, reinforcing both, health in both. Now the other set, regardless of what set you're using, you want to make sure that the jewelry is healthy if you can help it for this particular setup, and mag recovery. But we are using Gallonway. You don't have to use Perfected if you don't want to. You can use the regular version. You will be missing 1k max health. But max health bonus, minor Aegis reducing all the damage we take, healing received again or healing taken, that's the same thing. Health, if it's perfected, on normal mode it won't be. You can get the set on normal. But after successfully blocking, you will grant Empower to 11 allies within 15 meters for 3 seconds. Empower increases the damage of their light attacks and heavy attacks by 40%. And this effect can happen once every 2 seconds. So blocking all the time will give you resources back. Blocking all the time, if you need to or if you can, will also buff your entire group. If you have a group of people that consistently keep up their light attacks and heavy attacks, they are going to have a massive boost to damage. If you have easy sorks in the group, link will be in the description for that. One of their main focused damaging abilities for both single target and AoE just got boosted by 40%. Heavy attacks get boosted by 70% during off balance as it is. Utilize that stuff while they're getting this. Very, very strong. But you don't have to use it if you don't want to. This is a massive group buff. But if you don't want to use that, you can of course go with Yolnokrin instead, which is very similar. Health, minor Aegis, health again, and stamina. Perfected version obviously has different stats. You don't get the extra health. But when you taunt an enemy, which you'll do all the time, the whole group will get minor courage, which will increase their weapon and spell damage by 215 and can happen every 8 seconds. So this is 100% uptime as well. One or the other, whichever you prefer. If everyone needs more spell damage, go nuts. If you got a crap ton of easy sorks, you need this. Gotta get it. Now, the other option. If you want to help your group survive or heal or whatever, then you want to go with this. You want to swap the chest out for Bloodlord's Embrace. Then you want to change your jewelry to Winter's Respite, because this is a light set. Yes, there's a lot of different tests here. Half of them have been deleted because I ran out of space. And then you want the belt to be Winter's Respite as well. Then you can change your body pieces back to Leeching. Now on your back bar, Winter's Respite weapons. Now Leeching is only on the front. You've got full control of it. So if we recap over this, Leeching on the front and 3 body pieces. Stonekeepers is still there. Winter's Respite on the jewelry. 1-piece belt, so you've got 4 on the front. And then sword and board on the back. Now this will put a circle of healing on the ground and heal every 1 second. With you spamming Igneous Shields, you give yourself minor mending, increasing the healing you do, which means this buff to everybody else. And you will damage shield cover them as well, so they'll be protected. Damage shield on the group, heals on the group. This can pump out about 4 to 5k heals a second, depending on buffs and bonuses. Very strong indeed. Great group protector. And we've got extra mag recovery having the light piece from the passives. And this, if you're a stage 3 vampire with this setup, which I would highly recommend, you do now have this extra bonus. As long as you bash the enemy, every time they hit you, once a second, you get 1.5k magic back. That's your resource return, alongside the recovery, countering the extra cost for being a vampire. Your choice at the end of the day, entirely up to you, but these different setups all work very, very well. It just depends on which one you take. Winter's Respite if you want the healing for your group, Gallenway if you've got loads of easy sorks, or just loads of people with no empower in their setups, and Yolnakrin if you just want to increase everyone's flat bonus to damage. Now, we're going to go into the champion points. Hopefully this will start making a bit more sense. Champion points were changed dramatically, but they are nowhere near as complicated as they look. This tree here is 100% quality of life. Champion points are inevitable, meaning you will, as long as you continue to play the game, unlock every single passive skill or bonus that you can acquire. Before, it was maybe different tree, of course, but say, for example, 50 in here, 10 in here, 10 in here. I've run out of points because I hit cap. The cap now is 3600. You can buy every single passive available. But these are all quality of life. But I would encourage you to go on a path to some certain bonuses that do benefit you in combat. This will increase the duration of your food and drink. Very nice. This will give you a 10% chance to not even consume a potion, although it will still work. This will increase your movement speed out of combat, so if you're not in a fight right now, going from one fight to the next, you're faster. And this will give you higher quality loot from chests. None of these bonuses, these slottables, are really beneficial to combat, apart from these in content. Not necessarily in the fight, but during content in general, these are quite helpful. Except for that can help in a fight. Now, you also want to make sure that along the way, you get this armpit buff. It's called the armpit buff now. You have to deal with it. 100% reduced decay rate on your gems from your weapons. Yes, that means your glyphs do not take soul gems anymore. Congratulations. Now, the complicated stuff that's not that complicated. This looks like a mess. This looks very confusing, and you might think that you have to try and understand everything. You don't. Again, every single passive is inevitable. You will get there. The difference with the new CP system is that you need to decide at the top there which slottables you take. That's the important stuff. The rest of it is going to happen. The important stuff is what you need in your slottables, where, when, and why. So, obviously, get them all. But here's the path you want to take to get your slottables. You want to unlock this crit bonus. 10 points in there will unlock this. When you deal direct damage, you heal for 7% of damage done. That is bloody stupid. All you have to do is taunt, light attack, or bash, and you can heal from it. That is insane. Chain someone in. You just healed from it. Legion is incredibly powerful already. We are going to survive all day long. But if you do want to be that extra tanky, get this. It's hilarious. However, you don't have to. What you can do instead is you can get some of this stuff. You can actually put on a resistance bonus if you want to plug that physical. Just bear in mind you will cap out way over on your spell, so not necessarily essential. But stuff like this, Last Stand, I would recommend putting that there instead if you feel like you're already chunky enough. But the rest of it is here. Get 10 points in this tree here, the resistance tree. Of course, it makes sense to get your healing received and your resistances all done as soon as possible. But at an early stage, that's not going to be an option. Just get this unlocked. Once this is unlocked, these all open here, and these are what you really need. You're going to want this, which reduces the amount of damage you take in area of effect. You're going to want this, which reduces the damage taken from single target. So area of effect, single target, you're tanky. Plus your resistances. Then you've got Last Stand, so if you do go low health, which we can, because we're a vampire, you gain major heroism. So ultimate is quicker, so we can use an ultimate quickly and get out of trouble. Now, there is one more important one. You could go this way. You do want to get your status chances. It's inevitable. You're going to get it anyway. Whatever. You could have more increased damage over time, which means more flat damage from Legion, which means higher heals. Could argue that would be helpful, but I would not recommend that. Use these here. Swap out different resistance bonuses as and when you need them, but these are your basic I can't die buttons. What you really want is up here. You're going to have to go this route as minimal as possible. 10 points here, 10 points here. Healing done is really nice. And then 10 points in here and unlock this. If you go under 25% health and you heal yourself, you will remove all harmful effects from you. So Legion or your Dragon Blood will actually heal you, obviously. And this can happen once every 24 seconds. But for doing so, while really, really low health in the danger zone, which is safe for us, we remove all harmful effects. So if you go stupidly low and don't quite die, every single dot, debuff, poison, negative effect, whatever is on you, goodbye. You have a built-in oh shit cleanse. If you're using Winter's Respite and somebody else goes really, 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 really low and you heal them at stupidly low health, that applies to them instead. This is stupidly powerful. Definitely get this. Massively overlooked as well for people that are not healers. Almost Immortal Warrior can stay alive at the lowest of health anyway, but now you just take away all that stuff. Stupidly strong. Now, the 4 slottables for this tree. Again, these are inevitable. You can paint yourself or pave yourself a path if you want along the way to get to certain things. Just minimal points in each one to unlock the next section. You will have them all eventually. But the 4 slottables that I would decide to take with me in most situations, health bonus here, goes without saying, have some health. You don't even need to unlock anything to get that. This increases your armor, resistances are there, don't have to unlock anything to get this either. This decreases the time it takes to res people. That's a swap out. You will be resing people quite a lot in pugs because you're the one that can't die. If stupid people run into corners and end up dead all the time and you have to pick up the slack, this actually gets them up much, much quicker. This isn't essential. This is a good one that I would take, but take this. Instead of the res one, take the recovery one. The flat stats you saw earlier are now affected. Health recovery, mag recovery, and stamina recovery. Very nice indeed. And this, while afflicted with status effects, so you will be, your core combat skills are cheaper. Blocks, dodges, bashes, all that kind of stuff. Much, much cheaper. Really handy stuff. And if you are one of those people that just dodge rolls too often all the time, there's another option. You can, of course, take this, which gives you an 800 cost reduction to your dodge rolls if you have a damage shield on. We're using damage shields all day. I don't know why you're dodge rolling if you've got a damage shield on you, but just in case you do and your cost is really causing you some problems, you got this. Essentially, though, the 4 I would pick is the health, the resistance, the recovery, and survival instincts. Anything else is your choice. This one's a really good one just in case those shit moments happen. Again, champion points are inevitable. They will happen. You will get them. You will unlock them. On the website, I'll give you a 160 champion point, 420, 810, and 1350 setup to get you in the right places early on, to get those slottables unlocked, which path you should take, and so on and so forth. But again, Your 4 slottables are your choices. Those are the things that really change along the line in content. The rest of it is going to happen anyway. You're not restricted like you were before. Get them all. Now that you can see the recovery bonuses, because we changed our champion points, we're now actually on 1925, so not 1.7, 1.9. And that means, obviously, if you do change your food, which we did earlier, the recovery now goes up to 2566, which is stupid. Again, the choice is yours. It's entirely up to you what you take with you. There are flat stat bonuses you can swap and all that good stuff. All on you. If you have a Warhorn and minor toughness in your group, with flat food, of course. Actually, no. Non-flat food, 2.7. With flat food, we are on 60k health, 15k magicka, 22.9k stamina, and 2.1k recovery. With buffs and bonuses in your group, you are a bloody machine. Now, the things you need to know are, of course, maintain your taunt all the time. Do not let it run out. Misforming situations, you know you can get away with it if you think you don't really want to waste your resources. You don't really need to block right now. You need to move fast, or you can just avoid all the damage. Remember, major bosses don't count. Immovable only in situations, obviously, where you're not going to have to run very fast. And if you do need to, dodge roll, you'll cover more ground. But, of course, keep the resistance buff up and just time it. Watch your bar swap, so because you do drop your block. You could play very active if you wanted to. You could put Legion on the front and Galloway on the back and still take advantage of Bloodlord's Embrace. But you could taunt on the front bar or even on the back bar while blocking, and then your survival on the other. Or vice versa. You could basically put all of your shinies here, and then when you're in trouble, swap and get those big heals. The choice is yours how you want to play. You can be very adaptive with it if you want, or you can just stick to the basics. Anyway, people, it's time for fashion. So, as usual, this is the same actually, same on the website. This is a Divine Prosecutor's helmet in heavy. We are using Wormcult Cuirass in heavy, Imperial 4 heavy shoulders, Wormcult heavy hands, Wormcult heavy, no, Divine Prosecutor actually, heavy belt, Wormcult legs, Wormcult feet, all heavy. The axe is actually Lord Warden, and the shield is Shield of Essential Shield. On the back bar, just make sure it's something different. We've actually got a Zivkin sword, which is the same as the sword that drops from Lord Warden as part of the Legion set, and we're also using a Morag Tong shield. The back bar just needs to be different to the front, because then when you do swap bars, at least if you're not looking at your skills, you know which one you're on. The colours we're using are pretty simple actually. Most of it is actually a mixture between Void Pitch and Legate's Black or Thalmor Black, whichever one you prefer. So Void Pitch here, and then we've also got Legate's Black or Thalmor Black, whichever you preference. I think Thalmor Black actually is a little bit better for this one because it's got that grey edge to it. But on the website, you'll see the full screenshot of where you should put everything. So hopefully that helped, hopefully it wasn't too boring, hopefully you now have a better understanding of how to approach this particular build if you haven't already seen the updates in the last 4 years. But if you're not subscribing, please do hit that button, it is free. Furthermore, if you want to help support outside the channel, there are some links in the info section for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, the website xynodegaming.com, and of course, you can catch me live on Twitch every single day from 10 PM UK time, except for Wednesdays, unless I say otherwise on Twitter. You can also find me on Instagram, and there's a few other things out there, including merch, which you can see at the bottom of the video, keyrings, t-shirts, hoodies, all that good stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.